I have so many fond memories with this lens, the original ED 24-70 2.8 from Nikon. I used it for about a decade all around the world. It's probably still to date my most used lens, and it's kind of was my bread and butter for that decade when I was getting started as a professional. I tried all the different variations, including this guy, the Monster ED VR lens. You want to hold that one for me? But none of them kind of offered an advantage, and I don't upgrade to things just because they're new. It's what does the job for me, and if it's clearly better, then eventually I do. So when mirrorless came along, I was kind of late to the party. I didn't go in on the first generation of Nikon Z cameras. But when they got to a point that I thought they were offering an advantage over my D850, I moved over and started shooting with this guy, the 24-70 2.8 Z S lens. And honestly, I couldn't really believe it. The lens that was kind of, in my mind, flawless had been surpassed by such a margin. The new one is, as well as being smaller and lighter, the body is a bit plasticky, but I didn't mind that. I actually damaged quite a few of the old version. I think the metal is a bit less forgiving. But the image quality on this guy, the files just looked brighter and cleaner and more clarity, to the edge sharpness, and the focus was even better than this guy. So it was just kind of a no-brainer, and this has now become my bread and butter staple lens for my work, and seems safe to assume will remain my bread and butter lens for the rest of my career, right? But Nikon had other plans. A couple of weeks ago, I got word of this guy, the new 24-70 2.8 ZS Mark II. That's meant to be smaller, lighter, and optically better again. But there has to be some catch, right? You can't just make it better than something that already seems perfect. So today, I've rented out this retro studio, brought along beautiful Hana to do some testing and to put these two head to head and see what's the catch, if there is one, or have I now found my new bread and butter 24-70. Let's go. So let's start off getting some little portrait tests here with some foreground and background blur. You might see in the foreground we have a whole bunch of lenses. In the second video I'm going to be comparing these to 9 different 24-70 options to see how they stack up. But let's jump in here. Okay, so we've got this, so then we have a little bit of depth here, the beads in front of her and the beads behind. If you're a Nikon Z shooter, fair chance seeing you're watching this video, check out my expert setup guide. It's actually my best-selling course ever. It takes you through every camera in the system, showing you all of their different features and the huge amount of customization you can do to get the most out of your cameras for your style of shooting. And I've updated it to talk about the new 24-70 lens. There'll be details below in my link tree. So in terms of ergonomics, the zoom, the feel of the lens, I would say, feels a lot like the 24-120, which there's nothing wrong with that lens. It's just, you know, it's a second-tier lens, and I kind of associated it with that. But the fact that it doesn't extend at all is really nice. I was worried when I read that on the paper that it might mean that it's a zoom by wire. Great for video, maybe less so for stills. I like that the function ring now is clickable or declickable. It's always nice to have that option. I can't find any issue with it with handling. A significant reduction in weight is great, and the fact that this is now more splash resistant and equally dust resistant to the original, all great. The only kind of downside in terms of in the hand, I would say, between the two of them is we're losing the LCD screen on it. I didn't ever, to be honest, really use that, but I always thought it was kind of cool. And also nice that it's getting an extra function button. So overall ergonomics in the hand, I think it's a W for the new lens. Okay, next up, I put up a gigantic continuous light, which is completely killing the ambience of the room, but so be it. I want to be down at my base ISO to test out these two lenses and see how they do in terms of sharpness. I'll do these at f2.8 and at f4. And then f4. That's all perfect. Let's do it again with this lens. Such big eyes. Okay, noticeable vignette lift when I go to f4. So on both the lenses, I could see as I stopped down to f4 that the vignette lifted just a little bit. We'll see how they look in the final files. It's really hard to say through the viewfinder, but it did feel like the second one, I felt like I was seeing more sharp skin detail on the newer lens. Again, we need to be nerds and actually pixel peep it to really see if that's the case. In between different setups for today's shooting, Hannah and I also shot some content for Patreon Uncut. If you're not following already, check it out. There's a link in my link tree. We share all kinds of different content that's too much for YouTube. There's a couple of different levels there, and we have hundreds of members in the community now. It's really fun. Check it out. Now, if you haven't already guessed, throughout this video, we're actually doing a comparison with a bunch of other lenses as well. Starting off just with these two, I want to do a comparison using a challenging lighting situation at 24 and 70 to show you the kind of variation we're getting. If you stick around, make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. And in the next video, we're going to be doing more exhaustive testing in this scenario with all of the lenses. So let's get on the ground. Okay, so let's take a look at the shot here. I've basically just got several hard lights in the shot. You can see the light in the frame, top right, that's lighting her. So at 24 mil, so 24 and then coming in all the way to 70. If I just lean back, I can get her hand and the mirror in. Now, when we do the next series, you'll see the lights behind her are lighting her back beautifully as well. You can see neither of these seem to be really struggling with the flare, light coming straight into the lens. It'll be interesting how the other lenses do in this test. Okay, so 24, and please be good at 70. Ah, it looks great. There's basically no flare or haloing or any issues that I can see on this guy. Damn it, I said I don't buy things just because they're new, but this does seem better. My videographer who was just using it loves that it doesn't extend when it zooms. So many zooms on a gimbal become unusable because of the shift in center of gravity. Does that mean I have to buy two, one for each of us? That's like a $5,000 purchase. I could almost get a Sony RX1R for that. Burn. Now, to be perfectly honest, whilst this studio is cool, it is quite dark, and I was struggling to really see a big difference between the images here. So I got the new lens back in so we could do a studio test with a fantastic male model, as well as some natural light tests shooting through the trees, so we can really see the difference between the old and the new generation of 24 to 70. Pretty great to me. I have to just give you guys a disclaimer that this is a pre-production, not final lens. It seems pretty final to me, and it's certainly side by side with the other one, as fast or faster, quieter and lighter, and just great to shoot with. But there still potentially will be some changes, so take that as it is. To see the image quality, whilst I can't give you downloads from from this first video, we can go in studio and take a look at the files side by side. So let's go check out the image quality. Okay folks, so I'm kind of swamped with lenses at the moment. We're working on the 2-way and then also a 9-way comparison. I have to say up front, when you're trying to do a multiple lens review, unless you do just boring lab tests, which is not what I'm about, because that's not how you actually shoot, it becomes really difficult because the sun balance changes slightly and then the white balance is thrown off, and so the test images are never exactly comparable, but I've done my best to equalize them and choose the best comparisons throughout here. So I have no dog in this fight. I'm as interested in the results here as you, so I'm not going to be, pushing it towards a win for the new lens. So let's jump in here and take a little look. First off, taking a look at these ones here. Let's get them in nice and side by side. That's the original Z lens on the left and the newer one on the right. And wide open at f2.8 in decent light, I really don't see much of a difference between the two. I have to say at 1/160th of a second, there's the chance that there's slightest amount of movement in the shot, so maybe neither of them are giving the absolute best. I don't know if you've ever done this kind of test, but sometimes you take 5 samples and 4 of them are good, but one of them is just like amazing. And that can be that just that tiniest last little micron of movement was excluded. But at f2.8, I'm not seeing a big difference. And this kind of is the direction that my testing is going. Taking a look at our super low rent male model here. Here's stopped down to f5.6, and here I do see a really noticeable difference between the two. There's so much detail and beautiful little contrast in my super dried out skin, and through the beard it looks extremely sharp. I don't know if it's too sharp. I don't know if on a beauty shot it would be more than you want, but stopping down to f5.6, I'm definitely seeing a difference between the two, and it's favoring the newer one having more detail and more contrast. Bringing it in on Tyson here again, it's just not comparable because I didn't get her looking directly at camera in both images, but both here at f4, super contrasty and super detailed. I really wouldn't have an issue with either. Look, I think the focus is better on the version 1 lens. Look at the fine detail we're getting there through her little chinny chin. It's crazy. Both of them at these kind of settings with good light, no complaints. Here's the interesting thing for me. Stepping out to do the bokeh test, this is one of the few tests where we really locked everything down, and even compared to the headshots of me, the mask was on a tripod, the camera was on a tripod, really we didn't change things. Taking a look here, now I have to note that on the first shot here, the original lens is at 49mm and the new lens is at 50mm, so that's a slight difference. But look at the reproduction size. I think the new lens is longer than the old one. So at 50 to 70, whether it's true and the old lens was actually wider than it says it is, or this is a bit longer than it says it is, I think there's a noticeable difference. Looking at the bokeh, especially in these kind of areas, I do think the new one is a bit more circular and a bit more contrasty and has a bit less of a fringe on it. It's not a big difference. I think they're both lovely. Looking at the details on the mask, here in this natural light with these sample shots, I do actually think that the newer lens is performing better. It's not a big difference, and it is, I think, to do with where the focus has exactly hit, but I would say overall I do like the newer file slightly better. Looking at the f4 shots, here you can see, actually I must have bumped the lenses in between taking these test shots. Here the original is now at 51 and the new one is at 50mm, and it's still noticeably bigger. So I think that really makes it quite clear. It's like 5 to 10% bigger, and the tripods and everything didn't move. So the new lens is tighter. And again, I would say the bokeh looks more diffused, softer, and more circular on the new lens, going in on the detail. Here they're both looking good, to be honest. It's kind of confusing. The older one has more detail through the gold here, but then the newer one through the eye. Again, I think wide open, they're both doing fine. I'm not seeing a big difference at 2.8 and f4 other than the reproduction ratio. So I don't have the new lens here anymore. I only had it for a day and a half of shooting and then Nikon have it back. I would say the one I own, the 24-70Z1, is phenomenal and great and the best that up until that point they had ever made. The newer one, I would say, seems longer. The bokeh seems a little nicer. It's definitely more circular, the bokeh. And at f5.6, definitely I feel like it's a sharper, more contrasty lens. Maybe at f4 and f2.8, but it's really close. But all of the other features about size and weight and internal zoom and the better weather sealing, that's all still obvious advantages of the new version. Okay, so this has been a fun day, but I think an expensive one. Looking for what are the buts with this lens, I was really expecting there'll be some things that kind of let you down. I really can't see them. The only thing will be if you've already bought the original one, the but is, oh, do I really need to sell it and buy a new one and then spend all that extra money? This being, the old one is an 82mm front filter thread, this is 77, so potentially if you do that, then you also need to get new filters as well. It's ever so slightly longer when when the old one wasn't zoomed in. So in the bag, it'll take a couple of mils extra room compared to the old one, and it doesn't have the EVF. If you value the EVF, then that is a but. Also, it's more expensive. It's compared to launch price or full price, only like, I think $200 US, so less than 10%. But this guy is regularly on sale now for about $2,100, which makes it about $400 or $500 more expensive, which is more like 20% more expensive. So again, that's a fairly significant but. However, in terms of what it's delivering, I think it's worth the extra money. Unfortunately, sorry to my bank account. What do you do in this kind of situation though? When you have a lens where you are completely happy with it, like I was with the original one. The new one has more aperture blades and more circular bokeh. It's faster to focus, it's quieter, it's got better drip resistance, they call it, not water resistance, better drip resistance. Declickable aperture, the internal zoom. It's also got a significantly closer minimum focus distance. Got the hood that now has the little flicky little window in it. It's better on so many fronts, and the butts are really quite small. So is it worth selling what you have to get this one? For a lot of people, probably not, but when it comes time to upgrade, it would be the obvious choice. And if you're buying today, then certainly I would be going for the new generation of lens. Having said all of that, Nikon has a bunch of different options available. It's thanks to the FTC adapter and the ability to adapt other like E-mount lenses to this. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe, and then in our follow-up video, I'm going to be comparing 9 different 24-70 f2.8 lenses that you can check out. You can see Hannah's social media in the links below. Thank you for joining us today. You can check out my different setup guides as well as the Polycameras merch also in my link tree below. Let me know any questions you guys have, and when you're watching this, I think I'm off in Kyrgyzstan around that time, so I don't know how to say goodbye in Kyrg, but Salamata Balunus. We'll add that in post. Okay, bye.